Cotton balls, a piggy bank, and your dog. What's that about? What am I getting you guys into now? I've got my jar of cotton balls. Okay. I don't have an actual piggy bank, but I borrowed my daughter's little piggy bank she's got going here. Don't tell. And I've got that. Got my cotton balls. And then my dog is not here. She's downstairs because we don't actually need her for this. We need your dog. So what do they have in common? I would like these. Actually, I'm going to dump all of these out everywhere. Okay. So empty jar. Okay. What I want to talk about today is the recall. Okay. That's what we're talking about. That's what this has to do with. So this has to do with calling your dog to come. So it is one of the most important cues a dog can learn is come. And it is also one of the most difficult cues to get your dog to learn. The reason why it's so difficult is because you are constantly in competition with everything in the environment. Okay. There's lots of smells out there. There's novelty. There's new sights. There's birds. There's airplanes flying overhead. There's avoidance of something. There's, a deer running through the field, whatever it is. So you are constantly in competition with all these things. So that is one part of our problem with come. The other part of our problem is that when you call your dog to come, you are often poisoning the cue. So what do I mean by poisoning the cue? Basically what I mean is that you are taking a cue that you're trying to teach your dog and you are removing all the fun from it, or you're removing, like, let's say you call your dog to come, right? Let's say your dog's outside having a great time. You call your dog to come and then you shut the door because they came inside and now you just remove their freedom. We don't think of that as any big deal, right? That's nothing. I mean, that's just like normal life. We needed them to come inside. And so we shut the door. But what you're not considering is that you just removed your dog's freedom, right? If your dog is digging a hole, having a great time, and, I say, like, let's say my dog Willow's doing that, and then, Willow, come. And she comes. Well, she might not come so fast next time because, again, I just poisoned the cue. So poisoning the cue has everything to do with just taking things away from our dogs, just making it so that, like, they have a bad taste in their mouth on it, right? So they're just kind of like, yeah, that wasn't fun. So either what's going to happen is they're going to learn to ignore you next time or even avoid you and completely blow you off. So what we don't want is we don't want to be poisoning the cue. We want to try to get as much positive experience behind that cue as we possibly can. Now, I got married in 2011, so I've been married for 9 years. Been with my husband for much longer than that. We've had dogs as adults for about 15 years total. To this day, husbands, if anybody gives me some ideas for training husbands, please let me know, because husbands, they just don't listen, do they? Kids and husbands, right? Wives are fine. Moms are fine. But what I mean, so, I to this day will still catch my husband all the time calling my dog to come and then putting her in the crate. So we have birds and we have 2 parrots and we have the dog. We have a routine where we'll take out the parrots at night, in the evenings, usually after dinner. So Willow will always go outside, and then we'll bring the birds out. But then when she's ready to come inside, we'll just stick her in the crate. But if we need to get her inside before she's ready, then what happens is we bring her in by calling her. My husband will call her to come. There was one night, and this is just one of many examples. There was one night, probably about a week ago, when I had asked to just bring Willow inside. So I had asked him to do that. So he goes to the door, he calls her to come, and then he sticks her in the crate. Oh my goodness. Just give her a handful of food, at least. Just at the very least, if you're going to stick her in the crate, just throw in some treats. I put the treats, like the jar of treats is right there on top of the crate. Just grab a handful and throw them in. But husbands do not quite think that way. So what do the cotton balls have to do with recall? What do the cotton balls have to do with a piggy bank? So the cotton balls are going to represent a deposit that goes in the bank, okay? So this is going to be your makeshift piggy bank, right? Because these things are not fitting in the piggy bank. So I've got just an empty jar. You know, use whatever. I just like it because it's see-through. You guys can see. So I've got this empty bank, okay? This is like a dog who is starting on a clean slate, right? Which none of your dogs are starting on clean slates. But for the purposes of this, we're just going to pretend. I'm going to give you guys a clean slate to start with here. What I'm going to use as my example here is, let's say you call your dog to come. And you give your dog, I don't know, like let's say 5 treats, okay? And that's it. You're not locking him inside, nothing like that. You're just going to give him 5 treats, okay? What I'm going to say is that you just made a nice deposit in your bank, okay? Now, if you call your dog to come and you feed them dinner as soon as they come in the house, there's another nice deposit, okay? You call your dog to come and you stick him in the crate, like my husband does, without treating, okay? We're going to take out a couple cotton balls for that. You just made the withdrawal from the bank, okay? You call your dog to come and you do nothing. Maybe you didn't even notice that you said it. That happens constantly in my house. Both my kids and my husband will constantly say it. Another example, my husband called my dog up from downstairs. She was having a great time playing in the kids' playroom downstairs, getting into probably crumbs and toys. And he called her up the stairs and then shut the door. Okay. Uh-oh. There goes another couple cotton balls. So the idea here is that every time you reinforce your dog, you're making a deposit in that bank. Okay. Every time you remove something from your dog, so you remove their freedom or you remove the stick that they shouldn't be chewing, but you call them to come, then you're making a withdrawal. The idea here is that you want to get that bank filled up, right? You want it to be full of deposits. You don't want to be in the negative. Okay, everybody understands the concept of, being in the positive with the banks. You want to be in the green. So I was somewhere, I can't remember where, away from home, and I had my trainer friend Louise come over to let Willow out for me, and it was kind of a last minute thing, so I didn't set anything up, and she knows my house and all that. So she came in, she let Willow outside. Willow has a favorite ball that she's pretty obsessed with. So she went outside, she's playing with the ball. Louise was throwing the ball for her. And because she demands that you must throw the ball every 2 seconds. So she's throwing the ball for her. And then all of a sudden I get a video message of her calling my dog to come, Willow, come, to get her inside. That didn't work. Calling her to do here, Willow, here. That doesn't work. Calling her to do touch. That doesn't work. Okay. When she has her ball, nothing else really matters. I mean, that is it. So I get a video now of my fellow trainer friend, Louise, saying on video, she's showing for proof that my dog doesn't come, and says on video, oh, yeah, this is the dog trainer's dog. Okay, so this is a video I get. I tried to find it for you guys, but I couldn't find it before this. So I, you would think I'd be like a little embarrassed or ashamed by that. I'm not, because you know what? I have a system in place. When she's got her ball, if you're outside with her, she assumes that there's a good chance you're going to throw that ball. So you absolutely cannot be outside with her. And I did tell Louise that last time, but she forgot. So I do have a different system. I don't call my dog to come. Okay. If she's outside playing with her ball, I either wait for her to come in on her own, and if she's going to stay outside quietly, have at it, be outside. That's fine. But if I need to go somewhere, I don't call her to come. All I do is I actually got her a second ball for this reason. I just take a second ball and I'll give it a little toss into the house, and all of a sudden she's in the house, right? And then I will follow up with a lot of extra reinforcement before she were to go in the crate. So I have a long span of time before, when she comes in and when she goes in the crate. So there's a lot of reinforcement. So, I mean, we're talking like a handful full of deposits, and then a little bit of a withdrawal, because ultimately she might have to go in the crate, or I might have to leave her alone. My challenge for you is to grab a jar, okay? You could do cotton balls, you could do pennies, you could do whatever you want to go into the jar. And my challenge to you is to see how full you can get this jar, okay, in 5 days. And then I'm really excited to see what a difference that makes in your dog's attention to you, okay? And the other thing I'm really excited about is to help you see and understand what actually counts as a deposit and a withdrawal for your dog. Okay, so get your family involved in this one. Kids are awesome at this one, and they're especially awesome at pointing out when you said come and you didn't even realize it. So again, that's said all the time around my house without even realizing it. So it's just one of those things. It's like word vomit. it just comes out. Okay, you just say it. So for that reason, I do not use come as my recall, and I highly, highly recommend that you also do not use come as your recall. Okay, so think about what other words you could use. I use the word here a lot. And again, not when I'm in competition with her ball outside, but I use the word here, or I'll say here, 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 you know, a lot. I use touch, hand targeting all the time. Okay, I will also use the word collar. I love collar because people, you tend not to say it unless you're really thinking about it. And then what I mean when I say collar is I'll basically put my hand out, say collar. And what the dog learns is to come and put their collar in my hand, and then I've got them, right? They're right there. But all these other words, you're going to be more purposeful about using, right? You're not just going to blurt it out all the time. You're going to act more specifically, say something. And what I have found with the word here, when people have said it, is if it's something that you say on a regular basis at other times, it's usually because you're pointing something out to your dog, right? Usually like, here, there's food I dropped, or here's a toy, or here's, you know, this thing. So there's still some incentive in it for them. There's still some reinforcement in it for them. So, okay, so there's your challenge. I want you over the next 5 days, I want you to get really, really conscious about when you're calling your dog to come and how you're reinforcing them. And if you reinforce them, you get to put some stuff into the bank. So keep the bank nearby the door or something. And if you are removing something from them or putting them somewhere they don't want to go, then you have to take some stuff out. And again, get your entire family involved because you'll call each other out on stuff and it's awesome. So definitely post updates to this over the course of the 5 days. You know, if you have noticed that like, you know, you called your dog to come and then you didn't even realize that you said it right before you were about to clip their toenails or something. I mean, like we say it at all these random times, like pulling a tick off your dog. Oftentimes we'll end up calling them to come. We'll just say it and then we bring them in closer and then get a little tick off them, you know? So hopefully that's not a problem for you. Hopefully it's not a tick problem. But like just these silly little things that you just don't even think about. So again, to wrap this up, okay? We want to make sure we don't poison cues. Pay attention to when you're removing something from your dog, okay? Pay attention. And basically, anytime you say the word come, pay attention to it. And pay attention, have your other family members pay attention to it because you won't notice it half the time. And then other takeaways is basically just make it very happy and reinforcing. You should be playing games with your dogs. They can learn all of these things that they need to know through games and play. And positive reinforcement doesn't always have to be treats. A lot of times it can be play, you know, a little hide and seek recall, stuff like that. Let me know if you're going to be part of the challenge. Just comment below and let me know also a little bit of, you know, what your experience is with come right now. What word is your go-to recall word?